Hey folks, welcome back to the farm. Now that all the junk fun is over, we've got to get back to things here on the farm and get things buttoned up. So stick around, we'll get some stuff done today. So first thing I got to do is there was a gallon of apple cider that did not fit into the freeze dryer. So I'm going to go ahead and pasteurize these pint jars up today, a little bit smaller jars. You've seen us do that, so I won't bore you with the process, but we got to do that first. So while I'm waiting for this canner to come up to temperature, I'm going to go outside and start picking our last batch of San Marzano tomatoes. Well, I just got done in the garden. I had no idea I had that many tomatoes still out there, and I didn't even look at the little slicer tomatoes. We've been using those fresh. It looks like I'm going to be busy for the next couple days. Now, most of those San Marzano plants are ready to pull up. They've got some shriveled tomatoes on them that we just can't use. But there's still a couple that are still show some green, so I'll probably leave those in. Maybe we'll freeze dry more tomatoes later. But our pantry shelf for our tomatoes is completely full. We got our wish this year. Planting that whole row of San Marzanos did the trick. It's hard to let some tomatoes go out on the vine because of the last 2 years that we had, but we've got so much down there now that we can get by with a couple bad years. And I've tried giving a bunch away and people just don't want them. I took 2 boxes into breakfast one morning and a couple guys took them, but you just can't hardly give this stuff away. It's pretty sad when stuff is so expensive at the store. Alright, our timer's done. We had 2 thermometers in here just to make sure. I even put one in a jar to prove my theory that the inside of the jar gets just as hot as the outside. So we've turned this off and now it's going to be tomato time, looks like. Since we already got a pot full of water here, we're just going to go ahead and utilize this water that's already hot to do our tomatoes. Now I know I mentioned a couple years ago that I only can just regular tomatoes because we can make anything out of those and I'm not stuck with one certain thing in the pantry. But we've got so many tomatoes this year and our tomato shelf is so full, we're going to go ahead and can some spaghetti sauce and marinara and maybe even do some salsa because we still have peppers out in the garden. So we eat so much Mexican food because we love it, we might as well make some salsa. We got our cooker full of peeled tomatoes and we got another gallon of skins for Kelly to freeze dry. And speaking of freeze drying, Kelly's got some stuff in the basement coming out of the freeze dryer. Let's go down and check it out. Kelly's pico de gallo is ready in the freeze dryer. She's bagging it up. Maybe, yeah. It smells wonderful. Putting some pico in a jar now. Got a whole nother tray here too. I tasted a clump of this that had like everything in it. It tastes like the spice on like Lay's potato chips. Would be really good. Vacuum sealing the Mylar bags.
Not vacuum.
Or, excuse me.
Just heat sealing.
Just heat sealing. So here's our tomato skins. Kelly said this white stuff on the top is the sugar that pulled out of the tomato skins. It just turns into a powder like the rest of the tomatoes when they're pureed up. You can see how crispy they are. And Kelly's making a tomato powder over here in the blender. Here's our tomato powder. We can use that in lots of recipes to give some tomato flavor. You could even make some tomato juice with that probably if you wanted. Alright, back to our tomatoes. Okay, for our marinara, we're adding 20 pounds of our San Marzano tomatoes. We weighed them out, and then we're doing 4 cups of chopped tomatoes to start with. Now I'm going to get in here initially and squeeze these tomatoes with my hands and get them to where they're just kind of pulp instead of whole tomatoes. That way they do better in this cooker, because you don't want just juice on the bottom in this cooker. You want the whole mass to heat up together. So we're going to hand crush them. Have your kids do this. They would actually thoroughly enjoy it. Next thing we add is 1 cup of dry red or white wine. Or if you've got cooking sherry, you could use that. Would work just as well. Next is 1 heaping tablespoon of salt. We're using our Redmond salt, and we heaped it up. If you've got just regular table salt, don't heap it. But if it's coarse or kosher, you want to heap it so you get the right amount of salt. Next thing is 1 tablespoon of dry Italian seasoning. Sprinkle that around. Next thing is 2 teaspoons of black pepper. I just use the tablespoon and go about a teaspoon short. Now you could use crushed red pepper, any kind of pepper you like in this, cayenne, depending on what heat profile you want. And you can spice it up a little bit more with that kind of pepper, or put a couple habaneros in here, or a couple jalapenos, whatever you want to do, it'd be good. You also want 2 teaspoons of citric acid. That's going to keep the nice bright color, and it's going to add enough acid because we're canning this, because your acid content drops whenever you add anything else to tomatoes like onions or peppers or whatever. So you got to make up for that. If you don't know where to get citric acid, it's in your canning aisle with all your canning supplies at the grocery store. We've got 2 bay leaves that we'll fish out later. I added a partial one because this one was small and that one had a piece missing. Next thing you want is 6 cloves of garlic minced, or if you have jarlic like we do, you'll want about 3 tablespoons. Will equal about 6 cloves. Oh, got that dirty, got to clean it. All right, that's all that's required for our marinara. So I'm going to put this thing on about 250 to get this thing boiling. I want a slow boil. Get something to stir this up, and we'll get it cooking. All right, I wish you could smell this stuff. We're going to put the lid on till that comes to a simmer. And then once everything's got a good simmer going on, we may move the lid off. Depending on the consistency, we may need to cook some of the liquid out. Now, if you're somebody that likes sweet peppers in your marinara, substitute about half of your onions for sweet peppers, bell pepper, whatever you like in there, and you can get that pepper flavor. We got these tomatoes left over from the whole mix. I'm going to throw this in the fridge, and we'll deal with this tomorrow. We'll make some salsa with all that. All right, our sauce is near the right consistency. We did a taste test. Everything tastes good. However, it's a little too acidic. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add about a 1/4 cup of sugar to balance that acidity. And then we'll see how we are from there. Now I also think we need about another tablespoon of Italian seasoning to bring up a little bit more flavor. So we're going to throw some of that in there. All right, folks, good morning. We're back from coffee this morning. Our sauce is beautifully thick and rich. Time to can it. Same old process, different day. Got our jars going in here. As soon as this thing comes to simmer, we'll be ready to can this stuff. And then we can start on our salsa. Okay, we got 13 wide mouth pints. So once this comes back up to boil, which will only take a couple seconds, this will go for 40 minutes on the water bath. And then we have some sauce left here in our pan. We'll put this in a jar for the fridge and use it up within the next couple days. Oops. While this stuff is in the water bath, we're going to get our salsa going. Got our tomatoes from yesterday. We're going to take them for a quick spin. There's 2 sets of blades in there, so it does the whole thing pretty good. That ought to be enough to break up those tomatoes. So now we're going to pour it in our pot. Got our pureed tomatoes in the pot. No need to wash this yet. We're going to go get some peppers out of the garden, and we already have some onions. We're going to get those processed up. Got some jalapenos out of the garden. We're not going to need that many. Look at these big, beautiful peppers that we got this year. It was a banner pepper year. So I'm guessing we got probably 1.5 quarts of tomatoes in here, maybe 2 quarts. So I'm guessing we're probably going to need 4 of these peppers. I don't want to make it too hot for Kelly. So I'll take the stems and seeds and membranes out of these, and then we'll puree them up real quick. Well, chop them. Got our 4 jalapenos stemmed and seeded, and a medium onion just roughly chopped up. Now we'll take these for a spin. A little shake. That's enough. We'll get this poured in our pot. Now we're going to add about 4 cloves worth of garlic, because I like it. Alright, we'll get the fire going on this. We'll bring it to a simmer. We're going to put some seasoning in there. My goal is to get this simmering and the taste that I want, and we'll use this same water bath now that it's going to can this. We're just about up to a simmer. We're going to add about 2 tablespoons of lime juice in our mix, 1/2 teaspoon of chili powder, half a teaspoon of sugar, and 1/2 teaspoon of cumin. Doesn't that look marvelous? Good looking salsa right there. We'll give it a taste before we can it, see if we need to adjust our spices a little bit. I'm guessing we may need a little salt, but time will tell. Yes, definitely need some salt. We're going to put a couple teaspoons in there to start with. We'll give that a taste, and we're going to go with a little black pepper also. Alright, we're good on our spices. Now next thing I'm going to add is a little bit of liquid smoke. A little dab will do you. Probably about 1/2 teaspoon or so. We'll give that a try. Give it a little bit of smokiness, like it's almost fire roasted. It's very concentrated stuff. You want to be careful with it. Our marinara is done. We can pull it out. We can put our jars for this in the canner and get ready to go. We'll give it a final taste test here in a minute. Alright, our salsa tastes fantastic. We've got our jars and our lids ready to go. Time to jar this up now. Got our marinara out. Looks like we got some hard water going on. We hadn't had that for a while, so I haven't been adding vinegar to the water, but that all wipes right off. So once we get this jarred up, we'll add a little bit of vinegar to that water, and that'll keep it from happening on the next batch. We put our salsa in 1/2 pints because that's a better amount for Kelly and I to get used up before it goes bad. Got 8 1/2 pints out of this little pot, and then I just added some big quart jars in there full of hot water, and I got some other 1/2 pint empty ones in there to keep the jars from tipping over. So we'll put the lid on this. Now you want to water bath pint jars for 15 minutes. But since we're doing half pints, I'm going to leave it at 15 minutes because of our altitude, and we should be good. Now with this salsa, you might have guessed, I didn't really follow a recipe. The key is just to make it to where it tastes good to you, simmer it, put it in a jar, and can it. It's that simple. Make what you like. There's our beautiful salsa, all canned up. You can see what a difference that vinegar made. These are all white, but again, that just wipes off. Well, that's probably going to wrap it up for this video. Hope you enjoyed canning with me. Got to run up to the high school for our mentoring session up there. Got volleyball this afternoon. Got to go by and see Mom. Got to go to the lumber yard. Lots still to do today. So hope you guys stay safe and healthy. And we hope you come back and see us here at Markelly Farm. We love you guys.